Hey, shalom. Great day, y'all. Listen, I hope y'all having an amazingly great day in Imago Day, which is in the image and likeness of God. That's who you're called and created to be. I'm excited. I'm grateful. Today at 2:30 p.m., I'll be 44 years old, okay? Because I look at the time on my birth certificate. And I'm grateful, guys, because God, I was just sharing with a group of young high school students this morning when I was telling them to bet on themselves because God has bet on them. But the devil had plans for me because he knew the great plans that God has for me. But God is greater than the devil. And so I'm excited that God got me here because he has something for people in my life. But listen, this topic that I have on the title of this live, right? It can apply to business, small businesses, large corporations, churches, social organizations, whatever, any place where there's an org chart or organization of people, right? And of course, so like I said, it applies to businesses, small and everything. But I put that title because I know it's crazy what attracts people and why. But that's another story for another day. But listen, so that's not necessarily my statement. But some people feel like that. In business organizations or, churches, especially if church is a business. And I did, when I started the Kingdom Come series a couple of years ago on that, I talked about how the church is a business. And if you don't see church as a business, that might be why your church is failing in all aspects of what it's supposed to be doing. But like I said, this is a business principle. It's a wealth principle. It's a kingdom principle. It's a God's mindset. It's a wealth mindset, what I'm talking to you about here. Because some people feel like the statement that I put up here, this is what they feel like. Hey guys, hey Tracia, hey Tequila. In a business like the church or a regular business, let's say a family owns car dealerships or owns restaurants or whatever. A lot of times the son or the daughter will get positions, leadership positions or positions that other people want that are coveted positions. And people, in the business, in the workforce, in the congregation, in the organization will say, well, that person is just the boss's daughter. They're not qualified. They're not ready for it. Look at how awkward they are. And many times that's true, but the principle is deeper than that because of the simple fact of this. Again, this is a business principle, a business and professional principle. It's a wealth principle and mindset. It's a God principle and mindset. It's a wisdom principle and mindset, right? And so I want y'all to listen closely because this is going to help a lot of people. Many people have been blocking their blessings and shutting off the flow of things and getting offended and leaving opportunities to grow and to be well in churches and other organizations, businesses they work in, companies they work in, because they don't understand what is called the spoils of war, as well as how legacy, all right? And legacy is not always about family. A lot of times it is. But hey, Corey, great to see you. And so again, I'm not saying, the pastor, but a lot of people have this statement in their heart and they get offended because of that. They don't understand that many times, the pastor or the boss's daughter or son or whoever they put in a position probably is not ready or qualified. But listen, let me tell y'all this wisdom nugget I learned at a personal and development retreat I was at some years ago, right? I spent a lot of time, energy, and money on development, on going to places where people had higher callings, anointings, achievements than me, all right? And God has blessed me tremendously to do that because I'm a teacher. And when you're a good teacher, you got to be a great student, right? God has blessed me continuously to do that and to take from it, right? So this is what this man said. This man said, always go into your next job, your next position, your next move in life before you are ready for it, okay? Go into it, and some people might not understand this. I've explained it a little bit more. Even large purchases, go in things before your feet actually can fit the shoes so that you can grow into it because it's going to challenge you. It's going to cause you to become a greater self. As a matter of fact, I've heard Jim Rohn, very well-known Peach or Caucasian public speaker. He said this. He said one of his mentors told him when he first started speaking, he said, earn $1 million. And I want you to earn $1 million, not for the money, but because of the person you'll have to become in order to demand or add enough value to receive $1 million, right? And so, let me say it again. You always go into your next position before you're ready. So it could be true when the boss of a company or a pastor of a church or the head of an organization puts their children or somebody in their family, well, let's say their children, because we're talking about legacy here. They put their children in positions and people are like, oh, that person ain't qualified. That person ain't ready. Many times it's true. But guess what? You always, the wealth mindset, the growth mindset, the wisdom says you go into a position before you're ready for it. I'm not saying go when you're going to disservice the people. No, you got to be to a certain level now. If it takes 10, you got to be at least be like at an 8. Let me say that. All right. So I'm not saying because, oh, let me go ahead and say this too. The spoils of war, or when you get a position, you get the spoils that come along with it. You get to put people in positions and bring your people with you. That's been happening. Matter of fact, it was started in Bible days with David. I didn't even know till like last year or a couple years ago that a lot of people use it now. You go to a workplace, you bring all your people. The president comes, he cleans the cabinet and brings his people. That's a lot of people don't understand. They're unwise. A lot of people talk and they shouldn't be talking because their mouths move faster than their brains. Spoils of war is a way that businesses handle, and it comes from the Bible. When David, right after in the passage where it says he encouraged himself, it might be like 1 Samuel 30, right? But the spoils of war comes from the Bible. When you come along, when you win something, you get to help the people that helped you or a part of your camp, right? I'm not going to go too deep into that. Or maybe I need to, because it is a business principle. It's a wisdom principle. It's a wealth principle. It's a God principle in mindset. And so what I'm saying with the spoils of war, I've seen it done horribly and I've seen it done wonderfully and beautifully, right? When you have legacy, you have people who are loyal to you, whether they're family members or just people who've been on your team. The spoils of war says that when you win a contract or you win, you get the position as the superintendent or the CEO or the pastor, you get, by the spoils of war, you get to bring along some people who are on your team, right? It makes sense in so many ways because they're an asset to you and you're the head person in charge. So you need the people who flow with you best, but also you should have something because you bring something to the table. So you get the spoils of war. But I've seen that done horribly. I've been in a school system, or I've stayed in the same school system my whole career. But there was a time when a person came in and they brought all their people and all the people were unqualified and scandalous. Okay. So I've seen it done wonderfully and I've seen it done horribly. Now, so again, people will make the statement when a pastor is over a church or a man owns a business or the head of a company and they bring in and they put their son, their daughter in a position that people say he or she is not qualified for that and they're not ready for it. You can tell the way they move. That's true a lot of times, and it should be true because just like when you're running a relay race, if you watch people who run track, if you ever watched it close, I like to watch it on the Olympics, right? The person does not wait till they get there to pass the baton. They have to catch up. They have to start running and catch up to them, right? So this wise person told me, I was at a training. I spent thousands of dollars to get in the room with a lot of very wealthy and successful people. This man on the stage said, you always go into your next position before you're ready for it because you're going to have to grow into it. Now, you got to be a certain amount ready for it. You can't be totally out of it. And I've seen people do that. They put their kids or their brother, sister in position, and that person is totally a loser and they help destroy the organization. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when you have a person who is the pastor of a church or a head of an organization, the CEO, the superintendent, and they have built this organization. That's key there. They have built this organization or built it up, meaning they didn't start it from scratch, but they brought it from nowhere to somewhere. All right. They have the right. The spoils of war says they have the right to bring their people. And who better than legacy? Somebody who is made of the same fiber you're made of. Guess what? This is what the Lord recently showed me. All right. Many times, this is the world system. This is people who don't know better because this is a wisdom principle. It's a business and career principle. It's a God principle. Okay. If you listen here, this is going to help people because people get offended and they walk away from good organizations and good leaders and good opportunities. Okay. Because this is what God said. Many times people look at, like, the Bible says God looks on the heart while people look on the outside. When God was choosing David, he was talking about that. The same thing where I told you the spoils of war that people use all over the world in all types of organizations now started in the Bible with David. But also with David, God says that men look on the outward appearance, but God looks on the heart, right? So many times people say the pastor puts son, daughter in a position, or the boss of the company puts son, daughter in position. They say that many other people are qualified for their job. That person ain't even ready. They're immature. They're this kind of stuff, and they should be not too much, but they shouldn't be ready yet. They should grow into it. But here's the thing, what God recently showed me. As a matter of fact, as I was meditating on this for today, he said, and it's my birthday. I said I was going to drink a couple lattes and try to read a whole book, a new book I have. But God has something different. But this is going to help a lot of people. I always give back on my birthday. I love it, right? But God says this, while normal people who don't have a wealth mindset, don't have wisdom, don't have a kingdom mindset, or people who don't even understand business, they will look at it and say, well, this person doesn't have degrees, they don't have experience or whatever. This is what God looks at. God looks at your heart, loyalty, willing to learn. Are you willing to yield? Are you willing to adapt? And a lot of times leaders find that in their children because they have no other choice. Now, there are some children who go buck wild, and that's a part of the parent not training them up, not training as in practicing, but forcing them a certain way until they can go that way. That's what training up a child means. Let me not go into that. I've broken that scripture down before. But listen, again, whether you're Christian, religious or not, this is a wealth principle. This is a business principle. This is a leadership and management principle, okay? It's a kingdom principles as well. So many times, don't get offended and walk away from organizations or start spewing stuff out of your mouth. One, because you're going against the order of God. And I'm not even talking about religion here, okay, or church. The Bible says that God ordains leadership and organization. It's in Timothy, Corinthians. God says, pray for your leaders. God says authority comes from God, whether it's a worldly authority or whatever. God allows people to do and not do. So even if you say that's a horrible leader, you talk about the president of the United States, the Bible says that don't talk against authority because it's of God, first of all right? But here, let me tell y'all this. So let me say this. So many times when you say the pastor's son or daughter, the boss's son or daughter, the CEO's son or daughter is not qualified, you're absolutely right. But they should be qualified enough because, like I said, I've seen this done horribly, and I've seen it done wonderfully. When a person has loyal children who are willing to learn and who are up to par, they're not where they need to be, but they're willing to grow, and their parents listen. And this is very important. If this person built the organization from the ground up or took it from a very low place to a high place, they deserve, it's the spoils of war. They deserve to bring some of their people with them. Okay. And when they bring their people with them, there's usually a lot of times a loyalty there. That's a main thing to God. So you might say they don't have experience, they don't have degrees, they're not mature. That's understandable. As long as, now, like I said, if the job requires a 10, they need to at least be at a 6, 7, 8, whatever. And God will look at their heart and make up the gap. Okay, so I'm not saying you put total incompetent, lazy, horrible people in place. No, but yes, it's true. And I'm not saying this in a bad way. And guess what? I'll get to it in a minute. Yes, it's true that when people say that person is not qualified for that position, it's just because they're the son or daughter of the pastor. That's true, and it should be, because you always take your next job, your next level, your next pursuit before you're ready for it, okay? Because if not, it's not going to challenge you. You're not going to have to grow. I learned that. This was outside of the word. I learned this wasn't a necessarily spiritual teacher. This was a success trainer that I sat in a retreat under this person, and it made so much sense. You always go after things that are bigger than you so that you can grow into them, right? And God will set that up for you. So yeah, you're not saying anything that's groundbreaking or anything that's, and I thank God. My apostle said this. He said, my sons are coming up. They've been with me for years. He said, I put them out there before, and I knew when they weren't ready, and I knew when they were ready, right? Because, oh my God, let me tell you this. Don't block your blessings, because like I said, this is not just a church thing. It's applicable or applicable to any type of business and organization, because this happens all the time, and it should, because it's the spoils of war, right? The spoil system is what you learn in government or whatever when you take government in school. But it came from First Samuel 30 with David. That's where the spoil system came from, right? So let me ask you this. Let me tell you this. Whenever you are upset when a leader of a company, a head of an organization, or I can say namely a church, like I said, I put the title for a church because I know it's going to draw more people. All right. Because people like country. I'm not trying to say, no. Listen, I've been under 3 pastors. One of my pastors didn't have children, and I'm going to say this. I've been in a couple organizations, not many, because I'm a solid person. I haven't been in many organizations in my life, as in working. But I've stuck to the main things because I know who I am, who I'm called to be, and I've always been placed there. Thank God for that, in places that are in line with my destiny and my calling as a teacher, as a representative and spokesperson of God. So let me say that. But let me say this again: I've seen this done horribly. And I've seen it done wonderfully. When people put people in positions, family or not, sometimes it's not your blood son or daughter that leaders put in position. It might just be somebody, a sister or a brother, a frat brother, whatever. And because of the spoils of war, you're supposed to bring people with you, but let them be qualified enough. Not they might not be ready to fill the position, but they can grow into it. But they got to be qualified enough to want to learn, to not want to make a mockery of you or put you to shame. And they got to be qualified enough to not destroy the organization or the role that they're called to, right? So you might think you're saying something big, and you might get offended and leave a church or organization because a pastor puts their son or their daughter, their wife, their husband in a position, and you say that it's more people qualified, I'm more qualified, whatever. First of all, this has never been the case. This will never be the case for me, because I've never been after titles and position. I'm gonna be who I am, and it always speak for me, right? And then I'm not an administrative person. I'm not a detail person. So, what upsets you, first of all, you're not saying anything groundbreaking when you say the title of this post, that the pastor's son or daughter, the boss's son or daughter is not qualified, they're not ready. That's true, and it should be true, so that they can grow into it, right? And it's a lesson for you. If you go into things, if you make your next big move and you already are capable of taking care of it, it's not God and it's not your next big move. You got to go into things that you're not ready for. Listen to me. You got to listen to the wisdom of God here. You got to be ready to a certain extent, but you got to have some room to grow in something that's going to push you. You got to have something so big that it keeps you before the face of God. Like, God, how do I do this? God, how do I serve? How do I add value to these people? And that's how you get more value. Most people ask for pay raises and they're not even earning what they get paid now. Okay. You always go into a position, go after another level before you're ready for it. And so that you can grow into it. Right. All right. But you got to have, the gap can't be too big. All right. And so, yes, it's true. A lot of times the pastors or the bosses or the CEO's son, daughter, whoever, wife, husband is not qualified and they're not ready, but they have loyalty and they have enough to be able to work with, so that they are actually perfect for the position, right? But let me say this: so you're not saying anything groundbreaking, and you're not doing what you're not doing anything newer than what somebody else has done, walking away from organizations or feeling like you're slighted or pulling back. First of all, you should be an organization for whatever you're called there to do, and it shouldn't be dependent on what somebody else is doing. Okay, first of all. Secondly, listen, if you have an issue, like I said, let me say this again. Let me preface this statement with this, all right? I've seen the spoils of war and people putting their people, whether it's son, daughter, husband, wife, brother, sister, in positions because they have the ability to do that. I've seen that done wonderfully, okay? And I've seen it done horribly, okay? Now, the only reasons, let me say this, I had to preface this statement with that statement. The only reason that you are going to be upset when the CEO or the pastor or the CEO of the company, the boss of the small business or the major organization puts their son or daughter in a position, okay, leadership position, whatever, put them over something. Okay. A lot of times they might have to be your boss or whatever. You might have an issue with that because you say, I'm more qualified or such and such is more qualified. This person is not ready. They're awkward, whatever. All right. These are the reasons you would have a problem with that. One, you want the position. Okay. Never been an issue of mine. You want that person's position. Okay. And even if you want it and even if you qualify for it, like I said, there are other threads in it that you have nothing about. If a person built a business from scratch, including a church, all right, or brought it from nothing to something or did things that only them and God could do, they deserve to put some of their people in place. And why not put somebody that has your own blood, your own DNA, loyalty to you? They're going to listen to you. They have a teachable spirit. Now, they can't be dumb and slothful and insubordinate. No, people have done that and it's been horrible. But when people have really good, it's the spoils of war. They have really good people on their team, been loyal to them. They know whether they'll fold or survive in a stress, in a trying time. they should bring their people with them. So the only reasons you're going to have a problem with the leader putting their son or daughter, husband or wife, brothers, whoever in a position is because A, you want the position and you're not secure within yourself. You're jealous, you're envious, and that's fine, because it is true. They're probably not ready for the position, but they're going to grow into it. And there's something in them that this person, if you trust this leader and this leader has results, okay, then they have good judgment, and they have some people that are probably more loyal to you than you to them, in the form of their son, their daughter, husband, wife, whatever, and they can work with them, right? So the reasons you would be mad at this, that the pastor's son, daughter, the boss's son, daughter is not qualified or not ready for, is that A, you want their position, or two, you've been traumatized by seeing this done the wrong way. I've seen it done beautifully. My apostles family, my bishop, my pastor, I've seen this done, and not just church organizations. I've seen this done wonderfully. Wealthy people do it all the time. Peach people, Caucasian people do it all the time. Asians do it all the time. It's called legacy. It's called, what does the Bible say? A threefold cord is not easily broken. Generational is powerful. It's not just for them. If you're sitting in the organization, it's going to be even better. The threads and the fabric is going to be stronger for you, even if you're not a part of the blood family, if this is done correctly, right? But I've seen it done horribly. So the second reason you would have a problem with the son or the daughter or the husband or wife of the boss being put in a position and they're not ready or qualified for it yet, but they're going to grow into it. The second reason you would have a problem with that. The first reason is you want their position. The second reason is you've seen this done and you're scarred. Just like they say church hurt or whatever. You've seen people being put in positions before and they were not qualified. They were not willing to learn. They were just there because of nepotism or because of favoritism. Okay. A frat brother, frat sister, a blood son, blood daughter, whoever. And they made the company suffer. All right. I've seen this happen. A person came in, and the person was already kind of shy. The superintendent of schools came in, put all kind of people in position. And you should when you're the spoils of war, but make sure they're not idiots. Make sure they're not crooks, right? And so, if you have people, if a person, a leader, my God, a leader has to have certain things to lead with. You want your leader to be, this is your leader, meaning leading the ship that you're on, piloting the plane that you're on. So if it's not going well, you're going to suffer as well, right? So why not? Just like, certain, if you have a person that I've seen grill masters, they come over or we hire them for, outsource them for our catering company. And they're the grillers, because my mom, my aunts, they do food, but they don't necessarily do grill. They can, but that's not their specialty, right? And they'll spend a lot of their good energy and time for what they're gifted for, trying to do a grill, whatever, right? So there are people who their gift is grill master, right? So you'll call a grill master and they'll say, and if they come to you, they'll say, I need this, this, and this, this, and this, so that they can work better. All right. When a surgeon comes, whoever, a mechanic, people need their tools. They need the stuff that works best with them, right? So if a leader is leading an organization and you're a part of that organization, first of all, hopefully you want to be a part of it. And if you're a part of it, hopefully you're not so traumatized, okay? And people are, that you don't want to see it fail. Because some people, as my mother used to say, it's an old folks saying, people cut off their nose to smite their face, right? You mad at your nose, but guess what? When you cut it off, it make your face look ugly. Right? And so people try to get at other people, don't realize we're a part of the same body. We're a part of the same. Why would you want your pilot to fail if you're on the plane? Why would you want the conductor to fail if you're on the train? My God. And so if you're in an organization, you want that leader to have their best stuff. And many times, if a person has their family close to them, if they're in good standing with their family and their family is close to them, why do you think a lot of times when people bring people to speak or they bring a person to perform, they pay for their family to come too, because that person is going to be happier, healthier, more efficient, especially if they have a team of people in their family who are loyal and good and competent at working in their business. So why would you not pass it as legacy? That's the smart thing to do. It's the efficient thing to do. It's the wise thing to do. It's all over the Bible. Oh, thank you. As a matter of fact, and like I said, whether you're Christian or not, whatever, you can use these principles in whatever. This is a business principle. All right. A lot of y'all know that a couple months ago, it probably been maybe 6 months now, but the Lord led me to 1 Chronicles 22, right? And start telling me some things about my life, right? And some things that were coming up and some things he had on my life. 1 Chronicles 22, where basically David wants to build a temple unto God, but God says you shed too much blood, but I'm going to give you a son. He's going to be a man of peace. He's not going to fight any wars, and I'm going to let him build the temple, right? So David is preparing for his son Solomon to build the temple. In one of my favorite verses now, 1 Chronicles 22:5. The reason I love it is because I got this phrase out of there, because y'all know me. Many people know. And I thank God because it's changing the language of people. All people all around me, they say shalom now when I see them or when I get ready to leave, right? People say, instead of when you ask people how they're doing now, they like, I'm gonna say what you say. That's right. It's not me, it's God's word. It's yours, right? So when people ask me how I'm doing, most of the time, I don't say fine or good. One, because I'm not just fine or good. That's an understatement. That's an insult to God. I used to, when I never been a regular person, but when I still had the mindset of a regular person in certain ways, all right? And so you think people are going to get offended. And some people do, because sometimes people don't really want to know how you are. It's just an expression, right? They just say it, and they started talking something else or walked off before you even answer. That lets you know that people just do it out of habit. And some people are offended because they're not used to you speaking up and speaking out. So I've seen it, but I've seen a lot of people adopt this language. What I'm saying is this: people ask me how I'm doing or how's my day, and I say my cup runneth over, or I'm favored on every side, or this is the one I got from 1 Chronicles 22:5. Exceeding magnifical. Now, I didn't think magnifical was a word, but guess what? I don't think it is in the regular English language, but it's in the Bible. Exceeding magnifical, not magnificent, magnifical. I love it. So this is what it was. David said, he said, the house that is to be built to the Lord. He said, my son Solomon is young and tender. He said, basically, he ain't ready for this. He said, but the house that is to be built unto the Lord must be exceeding magnifical, of fame and of glory throughout all countries. He's like, this thing's supposed to be talked about throughout the world. It got to be exceeding magnifical. So much so he made up a word, right? And so, well, I guess in the Bible, they're making up words anyway, because it's the beginning of stuff, right? I love this. I love this phrase, exceeding magnifical. And people say, what is it again? You know, I know you're about to say, or is that really a word? And people went there, and it sends people to the word, and no telling what God will speak to them there. So listen, be who you are, and don't let people, don't stop being courageous because weak people feel intimidated and scared. I put that quote up yesterday, I think. God gave it to me a couple days ago. All right. I won't say what I say, all right? I had a sister, she got offended because God showed me something about how she was doing business, and I came to her in love, constructive criticism, but she couldn't receive it. So she said, just let me do business the way I do. Let me be me. Just like when people ask you how you're doing, you could just say a regular, all right, or good. I said, I'm not a regular person, and you know that. She was like, but you saying all this, cup running over and all that kind of stuff, but she's offended. Now, the real her came out when she got upset, but she's around me all the time, and she adopt different things based on what I say. But guess what? The real her came out. But don't stop being who you are, okay? And this is just a sidebar right here. This is a bonus, right? Free of charge right here. Don't stop being courageous because weak people feel intimidated and scared by you. Don't stop, right? So again, when people ask me how I'm doing, based on what I've read or the time I've spent in prayer, whatever's in me comes out. The word of God says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. So this phrase that I say sometimes when people say, how are you? I say exceeding magnifical. It is actually written in 1 Chronicles 22:5. And David said, he said, my son Solomon is young and tender. He said, basically, my son ain't ready for what he getting ready to get into. Oh, so guess what? Yes, you're right when you say the pastor's daughter, son, husband, wife ain't ready for it. They're not supposed to be, okay? A businessman told me that you get into something, your next step before you're ready for it. Go into the shoes before you can fit them, because it's going to challenge you to grow. Now, this person didn't say it's going to challenge you to stay in front of the face of God, but I later got this revelation from another teacher, all right? Matter of fact, it was my pastor. If you can do it by yourself, or your current self can walk into it, it's not God. You might as well not go after it. You got to have something that you can get into and grow into. No, not go and destroy something because you're not ready. But like I said, you need to be at least maybe 60-70% of the way ready, and God will grow you the rest of the way, right? So it's in the Bible. David said, my son Solomon is young and tender, okay? It says, but the house that is to be built unto the Lord, it must be exceeding magnifical, of fame and of glory throughout all nations. David said this house is supposed to be talked about all over the world, and I know my son ain't prepared for it. The next verse says, so David began to prepare abundantly. And all throughout, I love this chapter. I know one reason God took me there, because the word abundant and abundantly and abundant without measure, without weight is all throughout that chapter. But many times it talks about how David was preparing for his son. All right. So another reason you're going to get offended when a leader, especially a pastor, a boss of a company, puts their son or their daughter in a position. One, you want the position. Two, you've seen this done before and it was done horribly. The person really shouldn't have been in a position. They never grew into it. They caused the company to suffer. All right. Thirdly, because this is about legacy. You've been traumatized because you have horrible issues in legacy. Your parents were not there for you. So you have a person who has built the company from the ground up, whether it's a church, restaurant, major corporation, small business. They have their blood, sweat, and tears has built this company, or built it up from where it was. And now they have family members they want to put in line to continue the legacy and help them, and then help you, because the companies should run better if they're making the right decisions. But you have an issue with, because legacy means it's going from one generation to another. And if you've been traumatized, because I told y'all, this was not just the word of the Lord. This is a trauma truth. It's also a business and a leadership and a wealth mindset principle. All right. You're offended, or you're hurt. You might not even be offended. You're hurt and you're wounded, and you say, I'm leaving this church. I'm leaving this organization. I got overlooked. Or it might not even be you. Your friend or John Doe, Jane Doe is more qualified, and they put their son or their daughter in position. Okay. Another reason you will have that mindset and miss out on your blessings and get out of order. And God is about order and authority and structure and legacy. It's all over the Bible. Okay. It's all over the Bible. People set their children up. Okay. So the third reason is because of a trauma. You have a problem with somebody passing something on to their kids because nobody passed anything on to you, or because you had a horrible relationship with your parents. Your father wasn't there for you. So listen. God has the reason this live came about, okay? God has been dealing with me in the last few months about legacy. He has said it's time for you to, and part of it is bringing my kids up in legacy. My daughter goes with me when I speak sometime, when I go train people on adverse childhood experiences and positive childhood experiences and positively charged experiences for adults. My kids know my books. They get ready to do their own book. My kids, they watch me. They get on these videos sometime. They want to help my children. I was in a business meeting with my pastor last Friday, and I asked him about the legacy thing in business. I was like, it's all over the Bible. I see it in our apostolic covering from my apostle, bishop, down to my pastor, as in the church as a business. And we're not going to get into that. I did a lesson on that before. Watch it. But God has been putting into me lately legacy. He's been reconnecting me with people from my past mentors and things who are about building legacy in business, real estate, investing, that kind of stuff. God has been reconnecting. So he's been putting it on my heart. All right. So one of the questions I asked my pastor in this business meeting was about this type of thing. Right. So let me tell you this. You can be so traumatized and wounded. One, because the second reason I told you that you wouldn't like this and you would have a problem and be super offended is because you might have seen this done wrong. A person put their family in place and they never should have. Okay. And it was disastrous. It affected you. It affected other people. But the third reason is another type of trauma. Trauma you have from your childhood. Your parents, man, if you can get something that you can pass on to your children, the Bible says a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. It includes money and real estate, but it's not just that. I thank God that I'm leaving a legacy. My children fear the Lord. My children know about speaking in the Holy Ghost. My children know about praying for people and praying through things and casting things out. My children know they're not supposed to be, and they'll never be sick and never be broke. Thank you, Nicole. Bless you. My children, the legacy. Now, my children are going to have real estate, money, and all that kind of stuff, and businesses. But most importantly, they're going to have the wealth of God on the inside of them. That my husband and I and our leaders passed on to them. Okay. Proverbs 13:22, the first part that says a good man leaves an inheritance for his children. And his children is not just about money and business and stuff. It does include that, because our God is the God of wealth and increase. Okay. But mostly he's talking about what ways of God, presence of God can have you passed on to your children. All right. And so what I'm saying is this: when you build something, whether it's a life in God, that's kingdom, that people say God has to be with you. I thank God for that. That it shows up in business and in finance and that kind of stuff, in ministry, touching. My children go with me when I go minister to people in the streets, my husband and I. My children go with me a lot of times and sit in my truck with the air on or the heat and watching TVs. God blessed us so that they can help do ministry. When I'm in the hood sometimes, in a drug hole, and people are like, you take your kids? Yep. A, because they're covered. B, they need to see what ministry looks like and they need to be a part of it. My kids go and help pass out food. My kids know how to pray for people. My kids go out on the streets with us, right? So I'm saying that to say this: when you build something amazing for God and with God, you should be able to pass it on to somebody. And many people, they get upset and they use the excuse, well, that person's not qualified for that position or whatever. The pastor put them in there. And that's true, because they shouldn't be ready yet. They should be about 60, 70% of there and grow the rest of the way. That's in the Bible. That's in business principles, right? But you're offended more, and you'll use that to leave the organization, leave the church, leave your opportunity for greater, and get offended with the boss. Start pulling back on your work. And Colossians 3:23 says, do everything as unto God. Do everything heartily as unto God and not unto man. Even if it's not in the church, your job at your workplace, right? You start pulling back and withholding because you're offended, because you feel like not even you, somebody else should have gotten that position that the boss's daughter or son got, right? I hope you listen to this and watch this and share this with somebody, because this is good stuff. It's kingdom, it's wisdom, it's wealth principle. Many cultures do it besides brown people. And one of the reasons, the third reason I just said you would have a problem with this kind of stuff going on in business, even in the church, is because the trauma of you not having that in your life. You never had anything for somebody to pass something on to you. But let me tell you this: when God gives you something to pass on, it's a beauty. And you want to make sure that your family, first of all, if you have a loyal, good, blessed, capable, competent, willing to learn family, put them in place. It's part of the spoils of war. It's generational. It's all throughout the Bible. It's God. It's God. God sent his son. God sent his son to do the work, and not just a random person. Well, first of all, people say, well, nobody else could have done it. But God did things through order, through sonship, through relationship, through connection. All right? Don't think you're being super spiritual or super independent or super powerful by saying the pastor, the boss's son, daughter is not ready. They're not qualified. You're exactly right. But they're perfect for the position. They're chosen by God for the position. So you don't get out of order and get out of place because you don't understand wealth mindset, kingdom mindset. I know plenty of people. Legacy is their business. Legacy. They're not forcing their son or daughter to be a doctor or to be a lawyer or to be in the hair care business or to be in the restaurant business. But the life that they live exemplifies greatness so much that even if the child wants to do something else and go to college and do it, they still learn the business and they're still committed and loyal to what God has called the family to do in that business. Let me make sure. I had a couple of notes. Let me make sure. This is powerful, y'all. Make sure this is powerful. I'm excited about it. So again, the only reason you have an issue when the boss, the pastor, the CEO puts their son or their daughter in a position and you say that person's not ready, they're not fit, they're not qualified. I can't say fit. I can't say fit. They're probably perfectly fit for it based on the way this system works. And it's good and it's supposed to work. But you say they're not qualified. They're not ready. Those things may be true, but they're perfect. They're perfect for the position. All right. And the reason you would have a problem with that, first, you've seen the spoils of war. You've seen this thing play out horribly before. I've seen it play out wonderfully, and I've also seen it play out horribly. It's of God and it's supposed to work beautifully. Right. Secondly, first I said either you want the position. Okay. So either you want a position and you can accept that there's something else for you, or maybe you're supposed to be somewhere else, all right, because you can't accept this. Secondly, you've seen this thing done wrong and you're wounded and traumatized for it. Third is another type of trauma. You have a problem with legacy. You have a problem with a family member, a mother or a father passing something on to their mother and father because that was never done for you and you can't fathom it in your mind. So you have a history with horribly. Let me say that. That's what I put in my notes. You have a history with horribly. You've seen this spoils of war done horribly. that traumatized you, or you've been hurt in your family, and therefore you can't stand to be a part of a greater body. Again, I hope people gonna watch this because they think it's church drama and trauma. No, it's not me. First of all, I would never. This is, like I said, this is a true statement, and it's the heart of people. Okay, but it's not. It's bigger and deeper than what the statement says, because this is the will of God in many instances, and I don't have a problem in the prophetic. I don't have a problem saying what most people don't see, or they see and won't say. But most people, prophetic, you see things and say things that most people don't see or say. All right. And I don't have a problem with that. I'm excited about it. This is going to help a lot of people, because it's not just church, but church is a main part of it. And church is a big part. The two most influential organizations or entities in any community, the church and the school, But also this is applicable. Now, the church is a big one. People get offended. People get mad. People start saying, speaking against the anointing of God, which is disastrous. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. If you don't understand it, if you don't like it, including me, but especially people speak against pastors and stuff, don't do it. Don't do it. But a lot of people leave organizations like the church, like a corporation, a business, because they see this and they think they're all right, because they don't understand a wealth mindset. Most people think in a poverty mindset. It's all about you. They don't understand the spoils of war. They don't understand legacy. And so they get out of order. They get offended. They leave, and they leave grand opportunities that God has for them. Or they get out of order in that. They stay in the organization. They stay in the church and cause pollution and contamination. And God is going to deal with you, because you don't understand this. Most people don't think like this. This is a wisdom kingdom principle. Guess what? But there are many cultures outside of brown people who do it because of it. Asians, Caucasians, many people don't have an issue with this, but African Americans, brown people, because of the culture, because of trauma. So I'm helping you all. I'm trained to do this. I'm trained not just in ministry and prophecy, evangelism, teaching, but I'm an ACE, adverse childhood experience, escape strategist. People have an issue with this thing when people put their sons and daughters in place, because there's a wound in your heart, your soul, because of how your parents never had anything to give you but hard times, right? But this should be a motivation for you, because when this is done right, it helps a lot of people. And the organization is so doggone strong, because it's a threefold core. It's a fourfold core. It's generational. And if you're in that organization and you're in there properly and in the right mindset, you're going to benefit from it, right? This is some powerful stuff. Like I said, this is my birthday. I'm supposed to be reading. I just want to relax, read this new book I have, and then a book God directed me to from my on my books. Most people know this. Men are from women and relationships. Men are from Mars, and women are from Venus, right? But God said, I want you to get on there. Like, guys, I don't mind giving on my birthday. I always, because matter of fact, my birthday is the day that God gave me as a gift to the world. So I went to 2 schools and prayed and did devotion with some kids this morning. And then I'm on here sharing. I'm about to go for my morning walk, and then relax and read this book, pray, and just spend time with the Lord. Just enjoy my 44th birthday, because God brought me here, and He has so much more in store for me, and so much more in store for the people that I'm called to feed and lead, the millions of people that I'm called to feed and lead, to help people triumph over trauma, especially adverse childhood experiences, childhood trauma that's still showing up in their adulthood. I can remember, I think it was 2021, on my birthday, I released the welcome video, the Welcome to the Benny video that I produced for my city to bring some good press to my city. On that, but I went away to Atlanta to consecrate myself the night before, and I was in the hotel, and I said at a certain time, I was doing the countdown and stuff, doing a little Facebook post for a couple of days or so, and then I think at 12 noon I released it. But at that same day, I was in Atlanta, and I went to this it used to be one of my favorite breakfast spots in Conyers, Georgia. All right. But my goal that day was that in one day to get 10 people saved, or get 10 people to give their heart to Christ. This was on my birthday now. So I always feel like I said, I want to just relax and drink a couple lattes and read this book that I want to read, this new book I have today on my birthday. But God says, I realized this a couple years ago. My birthday is the gift, the day that God gave me as a gift to the world. Okay. And so that day, 2021, I not only did I release the Welcome to the Benny video, on my birthday, which was, like I said, I wrote it and produced it and directed it to bring good press to my city. My daughter is in there rapping a little verse. I'm in there. But also that day I was in Atlanta and I said, Lord, I want to lead 10 people to Christ today in one day. Now this was back in 2021. Now, because God shifted me and put me like in some schools and some large organizations, there have been several times this year and last year I led like 60, 70 something, 50, 30, 60, 70, 67 kids to Christ at one time because God shifted me, because he knew for years I was one-on-one, and I'm still one-on-one. I'll talk to anybody anywhere. It's a part of the evangelist in me. But even since I was in high school when I got saved, used to do it before school, during lunch, talk to people, right? But my goal that day was to lead 10 people to Christ in one day. And so I went to breakfast, and then I went back to the room, went to dinner. I went back to the room, released the, no, I think I got up, I released the video at 12 noon, then went to brunch, went back to the room, did some witnesses and stuff while I was out, and then went back out to dinner for like sushi or something, another one of my favorites that night. But I love, anytime I think I'm gonna do something else, I'm giving back on my birthday. So I'm grateful for 44 years. The devil had plans for me. I was sharing part of my testimony this morning with some of the two of the schools I went to pray and do devotion with the kids this morning. But God bet on me. He bet on me. God bet on you. What kind of return on investment you're going to give him? All right. God bet on you. The enemy tried me very young, tried my mother, tried me. Y'all, some of y'all know my story. You've heard it in some of my trauma trainings. You've read it in some of my books. You've heard it on these live sessions. Just like the people on the field that's running and tackling, they're not trying to just get anybody. They're trying to get the person with the ball who carries something. You carry something. That's I was encouraging these young people today. That's why your life might have been harder. People challenge you and try you. Okay, I'm gonna go out or close out and leave out with this. I said it several times in this video. All right, it's a post I put up yesterday, I think, because God put it in my spirit a couple days ago, and I was waiting. Should I release it? Is it just for me? Is it for the people? I always have to do that. And God had me to release it, I think, last night. This is it. Don't stop being courageous just because weak people are intimidated and scared or fearful about what you're doing, about the fact that you live the life God called you to live. And most people don't. Don't stop being courageous just because weak people are fearful and intimidated. Listen. This thing about legacy and the spoils of war, like I said, it's a business and professional principle. It's a wealth and wisdom. It's a wealth principle and mindset. It's a kingdom principle and mindset. It's a God principle and mindset. Most people don't think this way. Or, yeah, most people. There are people who are in business, people who have higher intellects, people who are spirit-led, and people who know a little something. They understand the spoils system, or the spoils of war, or legacy. It's supposed to be in the church, any business, any organization, any groups of people. So I want you to watch this video. Watch it again. Share it with somebody. You might have burned some bridges. May God restore them. May God give you wisdom and discipline to not get offended and get out of order and put your mouth on the leaders of organizations, especially men and women of God. Don't get into the wrong place because you don't understand how things are supposed to work. All right. I love y'all. God loves you more. That's why he has put his words in my mouth and covered me in the shadow of his hand, that he may plant the heavens and lay the foundations of the earth and say unto Zion, thou art my people. You are indeed God's people. Shalom. See y'all soon.